Marvel versus DC. Who's better? That's been a big debate since maybe the 1930s. That's not really a question you can answer though, because Marvel has a lot of strong points and DC has a lot of strong points. So I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is Marvel Studios, their cinematic universe, versus DC Studios, their cinematic universe. That can be answered. And the answer is, hands down, Marvel. The MCU is better than the DCEU. And I'll explain why. The Marvel Cinematic Universe is a culmination of films interlinked together that has been over the past 10 years since the start of May 2008. Their characters feature Thor, Captain America, Spider-Man, the Hulk, the Black Panther, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Avengers, and their flagship character, Iron Man. On the other side of that, you have Warner Brothers, or the DC Universe. Same thing like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, except they've been around for the past 4 years. Their characters include Superman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Cyborg, Aquaman, the Suicide Squad, the Justice League, and their flagship character, the Batman.
Well, here I am.
So what makes Marvel better? Is all the big action set pieces they use? Or all the cool CGI and special effects and green screen? Or maybe it's the actors they choose to portray their characters. The secret to Marvel's success is character development and good storytelling. You can have some of the biggest, baddest action set pieces, some of the coolest green screen CGI stuff, and some of the best actors portraying your characters. But if you're not telling a good story, and if you don't have characters that grow, that the audience empathize with and can relate to, your franchise won't be successful. A perfect example of character would be Tony Stark. When we meet Tony in the first Iron Man film, he's nothing but a selfish billionaire. He cares only about himself. Everything is a joke to him. But now we see him, he's a selfless hero. He's more mature, more responsible. He's an Avenger, helps protect the world and the people who live in harm's way. And he's willing to make the sacrifices necessary that a hero needs to make. It's really that child becoming an adult. Billionaire to a protector. And mature and responsible enough to even be considered as a father figure.
Because I'm your nuclear deterrent. It's working. We're safe. America is secure. You want my property? You can't have it. We need to be put in check. Whatever form that takes, I'm game. If we can't accept limitations, we're boundaryless. We're no better than the bad guys.
Another example of that would be Peter Parker. When we first meet Peter, all he wants to do is become an Avenger. You know, just like the heroes he looks up to. But he really doesn't know what that means. He doesn't understand the sacrifices and the maturity level you need to be, like Stark, Captain America, like constantly reckless, stupid stuff. there's a character arc for him too, even though we already seen him in his own solo Infinity War.
Please, this is all
That
I have. I'm nothing
character
without this
had
suit.
an arc. It's
If you're
really the
nothing
thing
without
about
this suit,
the
then you
student
shouldn't have it, okay?
Thank you, Mr. Stark.
becoming the apprentice.
No, I'm good.
You're good? Good. How are you good?
But I mean, I'd rather just stay on the ground for a little while. Friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. Somebody's gotta look out for the little guy, right?
You turning me down? You better think about this. Look at that. Look at me. Last chance, yes or no?
No.
Okay.
Mr. Stark, it smells like a new car in here.
Now, let's jump over to the DC side of things. Let's take Ben Affleck's Batman. This particular Batman is hated by most. The reason why I hate him is because he doesn't have those two quality traits that I talked about. This character has no growth, no real development, and it's not good storytelling with him. Now, everybody knows why Batman became Batman. We all know it. But this particular version of him, this DCEU Ben Affleck version of him, we don't know anything about him. I only saw the Dawn of Justice movie once, but it seems like the only reason he hated Superman in that movie was because of all the destruction he caused. That, to me, is dumb. That's like so lazy. That's not good storytelling. You know, I just don't get it. Christopher Nolan's Batman did it best. It's not because they handled Batman per se, it's because how they handled Bruce Wayne. They gave this character development, growth. We saw Bruce grew as the series grew. You know, he didn't just stay the same, and there was a better story with him. He was at some pretty low points. We've seen him at some pretty low points as Bruce Wayne and Batman, and pretty high points as Bruce Wayne and Batman. And that's how you handle a character. So, if something bad happens to that character, you know, you feel it. You feel it more. The audience responds better when you have a character that they like. When you give a character growth and development, it's like day one homies. We've been here since the beginning together. We've been here since Batman Begins. You know? So when something bad happens like that, he not only feels pain, but you feel pain. And when he rose out of the pit, you rose with him. You were cheering in the audience with him. And that's what DCEU failed at. If they had just kept Christian Bale's Batman, because as of The Dark Knight Rises, he's a fully established character. You know, he only gets better from here. If they had kept this Batman, it would have been much more received. This had the best story arc. A 3-part storytelling, the best storytelling as Batman does. And this is one of the first actors to play Batman on a continual level. I think DC is better at writing comic books and cartoons. Case in point, the DCEU. The DCEU is the DC animated universe. It's kind of similar to the MCU and the DCEU, except this is a culmination of animated TV shows that have come together featuring the same characters in the same world and stuff like that. They started back in 1991 with Batman the Animated Series. They first had Batman with his own show, fully establishing that character. We getting to see him grow and stuff with his little character arc. And after the success of that show, they had the Superman series, featuring a lot of the same characters, voice actors, and designs. And after Superman, we then got another series where Batman and Superman teamed up. And it's really starting to get to that Justice League moment, that roster of heroes starting to join together. They even featured in other heroes from the DCEU who didn't have their own show, but they brought them in a way that counted. So when that Avengers moment came, when all those heroes finally came together, it was definitely like a welcome, because now these are all fully established characters. We've seen all their separate franchise. DCEU hit the nail on the head. They doing what MCU is trying to pull off right now. They did it back in 1991 and 2007. MCU has only been doing it for 2008 to 2018. DCEU's characters, they grew, they had character development and art, even lesser side characters had their time to shine. And it was such a success that the DCEU had more shows, continued their franchises, expanded on that universe. Every Saturday morning was a new show from the DCEU. None of their characters stayed the same.
Bruce Wayne? You peaked. I won't have vigilantism in my town. You'll be rid of me. As soon as I find the Joker. That may not be soon enough.
Good to see you, Bruce.
It's been a while.
You seem to be holding up pretty well.
I could use some of that Kryptonian DNA.
You'll outlive us all, Bruce. You're too stubborn to die.
Dick finally got fed up living in Batman's shadow. He decided to leave. He was hurt when I chose to stay behind with Bruce.
As his partner. His girlfriend? Whoa.
On the street, it was like ballet. We were the perfect duo. But for Bruce, Batman, there was nothing but the street. Eventually, that gets old. Time comes when you gotta hang up the cape. But Bruce wouldn't. Or couldn't. So I left, and never looked back.
When Superman died in the Dawn of Justice movie, it was sad, but it was not an emotional depth to it. You know, you didn't feel the sadness like you felt in Infinity War. The DCEU has all these big, huge action set pieces, all this cool CGI, special effects, and green screen, but the story is not there. The character's not there, and the story is just not, it doesn't add up, you know? And they have all this backstory and stuff that they try to cram into these movies, but it's unnecessary. All this backstory that they have could have been established in previous films. If Ben Affleck's Batman had his own movie, then this scene could have been established at the end of his own movie instead of the beginning of this Dawn of Justice movie. This Dawn of Justice movie was almost 3 hours long because of unnecessary scenes like the ones we have now. And that's not necessary. It took Marvel 6 movies, almost 4 years, to go from Iron Man to the first Avengers film. With the DCEU, you got The Man of Steel, and then there's a 4-year gap of nothing. And then, when the Marvel Studios had Iron Man about to fight Captain America in the Civil War, then you finally had the sequel, 4 years later, Batman vs. Superman. Which, if you're going to have your characters fight, that's fine. But establish those figureheads before you do that, so it won't just be two costume idiots fighting, it'll be much more than that. That's what we had in Civil War. We felt the pain. We felt the end of a friendship. We felt the Avengers broken and divided.
I could do this all day.
The reason why Civil War worked so well and why it was so emotional was because Tony and Steve were already established characters from their previous films. And it was a better story, it's a better reason for them fighting. Even in the cartoon series when Batman fought Superman, that was a better reason to have them fighting. And when they got together, that was better. It was more story and it was more interesting. They didn't get together because their moms shared the same name. That's dumb. He should be letting everybody get away with everything whose mom's name is Martha. It doesn't make any sense. Superman didn't even want to fight Batman in the movie. He only fought him because Lex Luthor kidnapped his mom or whatever, but Batman didn't even know Luthor's plans. He already hated Superman. He was already planning to fight Superman without Superman even knowing it. Superman came to Gotham and Batman was already ready to fight. That's what I'm saying. The story is discombobulated and too confusing. It has so many questions. What? The things I talked about in this video, it's a formula. And Marvel has got that formula down pat. And that's why they're better than DC. Now, can DC improve? Yes, they can. If they get that formula. If they work on their films. If they establish their characters better and give them better stories instead of stuff that don't make sense, then they'll be better. Now, will they beat Marvel? Will they overtake Marvel? Maybe in time. I highly doubt it, but maybe in time. Certainly not now, because Marvel is too established. They too up there. They too up there for DC to even try to compete. This is a race that Marvel has won years ago. DC, they need to play catch up. On Rotten Tomatoes, out of the top 20 best comic book action films, 15 of those were Marvel. Only 5 came from DC.